We may live without friends, we may live without books, but civilized man cannot live without cooks. Quoted in Nessmuk's Woodcraft from 1874. I'll tell you about royal asparagus and the big cheese in this week's Making a Mess with the Yankee Camper. Bacon and asparagus cheddar soup. Let's put together the ingredients we'll need to make our bacon and asparagus cheddar soup. First, we'll need 1 5-ounce can of evaporated milk, and we'll place that right into our bag marked with the soup. Next, we're going to use fresh asparagus. I've selected 5 asparagus spears, broke them in half, and I placed them in this Loctite plastic bag. I'm just going to roll these up, and I'll place these into the paper bag as well. Additionally, I've included 3 strips of pre-cooked bacon. These I've also placed into a plastic bag. So this is a Loctite sealed plastic bag with the bacon. The bacon states that it should be refrigerated after opening. This will stay for several days quite well without refrigeration, but you want to use it sooner than later. Just place that in the bag as well. The last item that I'm going to place into the bag is the dry mix for the soup. We'll just roll this up and place this into the bag as well. And that dry mix is made up of 2 tablespoons of dried cheddar powder. This is similar to the powder that's included in a box of macaroni and cheese. 1 tablespoon of dried butter powder. A half a teaspoon of chicken bouillon granules. A half a teaspoon of minced onion. 1 tablespoon of dried potato flakes. And a dash of black pepper. I'll seal this bag up, and I'll see you out at the campsite for either my lunch or dinner. In the meantime, stick around and watch this segment. Asparagus originally grew wild in the eastern Mediterranean region and was eaten by Greeks, Egyptians, and Romans. As a matter of fact, it's said that Julius Caesar was crazy about the vegetable with butter. Romans cultivated it in the spring and rushed it high into the Alps to freeze and preserve it for use later in the year. Asparagus was considered a luxury item in Roman cuisine. By the 18th century, asparagus was still considered a food for the very well-off. Madame Pompadour ate the tops with an egg yolk sauce known as love tips, considered an aphrodisiac. The Dutch, French, and English all brought asparagus to the New World during the late 1600s, and by the end of the 18th century, Thomas Jefferson was growing it at Monticello. It was during the 1800s, however, when asparagus really took off. By 1850, it was being grown commercially in both South Carolina and California. Around 1910, Ernest Hibbard decided to try growing the crop on his farm in Hadley, Massachusetts. 50 years later, the town had become the self-proclaimed asparagus capital of the world. It even became known as Hadley Grass, a corruption of the 17th and 18th century sparrowgrass, which was a common English old folk name for the vegetable. Hadley Grass was prized for its exceptional quality, being served in the finest restaurants in Germany and France. It was so well appreciated that Queen Elizabeth II served it annually at her Spring Festival. That is, until the 1970s, when a root rot fungus devastated the town's iconic business. Since then, Hadley has worked hard to recover agriculturally, and some farms have been able to grow more resistant and hardier varieties of asparagus, while others switched to crops such as potatoes and squash. The town even held an annual asparagus festival, but it hit several roadblocks, including COVID, and the funding dried up when the local public broadcasting media outlet stopped receiving a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting when Congress passed the Rescissions Act of 2025. The North Hadley Sugar Shack has stepped up to the plate and will be sponsoring the first annual Asparagus Days at the end of May. Although production is only about 10% of what it was in its heyday, with Oceana County in Michigan now claiming the title of asparagus capital of the world, there was a time when a little town in western Massachusetts grew asparagus fit for a queen. Now you know. Let's head out to the Nessmuk Spring Festival and get this recipe started. I hope you're enjoying this video, and thank you for watching. I put these out so that I can share my experience camping and some of the great things about New England. I don't get any compensation for this. I do this for you. What you could do for me is you could buy me a cup of coffee. Doesn't need to be very much, just a couple of dollars. Helps keep the channel running. Thank you for watching. Now, let's get back to the video. I'm here in Pennsylvania at Nessmuk's Spring Fest, and I'm going to make my lunch of bacon and asparagus cheddar cheese soup. So the first thing I'll need to do is put together the components to actually make this. I'll need my knife, cutting board, pot holder, church key, and my mess kit. From my mess kit, I'm going to need the cup and the small pot. Place this aside over here. I'm also going to need the lid. I'll put the rest of this away. So let's open up our ingredients. We've got fresh asparagus, our cheddar cheese soup mix, some bacon, and a can of evaporated milk. To start, we'll take our pot and cut the asparagus. Now I'm just going to cut these into small pieces. Don't need the ends. We've got those all cut up, and we'll just slide them right into the pot. Put the cutting board aside. Next, we'll want to measure out 1/4 cup of water and place that into the pot as well. We'll light the stove. Place that asparagus on top. Put a lid on it, and then we'll bring that up to a boil and then lower it to a simmer. That should take about 7 minutes or so. In the meantime, we'll shake up our evaporated milk. Give that a good shake. Using our church key, we'll open up the evaporated milk. And pour that right into our cup. Now into that evaporated milk, we're just going to add in our dry mixture a little bit at a time. Give that a stir. And we'll continue to add that in a little bit at a time until all of the mixture is completely absorbed into the evaporated milk. That will take me a couple of minutes, and I'll see you when I get back. Depending on how clumpy that is, you may need to use a fork to just whisk that all together. Continue to whisk that until you get as much of the lumps out as you possibly can, and then set it aside. So the asparagus has come up to a simmer. We're going to lower the heat a little bit and just let that continue to cook until they're done. In the meantime, watch this segment on the story of cheddar. Let's face it, cheddar is the go-to cheese for most recipes. Tacos, cheddar. Mac and cheese, cheddar. Snack crackers, cheddar. Pizza, well, the English use it. In fact, many American cheese brands use cheddar along with Colby as the base. The food itself originates from the Somerset region located in the southwestern part of England. The caves in the area are known for their constant temperature and 100% humidity, making them the perfect environment for allowing cheese to mature. The term for these cured curds dates back to the 1170s during the reign of Henry II, when some 10,000 pounds of cheese from cheddar are said to have been purchased, possibly for ships and banquets. In America, cheese-making came with the colonists bringing livestock in both Jamestown and the Plymouth colony. By the end of the 18th century, cheese-making in the former colonies had become advanced to the stage that it was being sold back to the British, who called it Yankee cheddar, a favored product over cheddar because of its price. It wasn't until the 1850s, however, that the steps to making cheddar was organized into a scientific, systematic process by Joseph Harding. A Somerset dairyman, he created a method which is much more hygienic, uniform, and far superior to previous aging. This was adopted across much of the English-speaking world, and Harding became known as the father of cheddar cheese. In the United States, cheddar is now made in California, Oregon, Idaho, New York, and a number of other states, but none compare to the state of Wisconsin. With over 1,200 licensed cheesemakers, America's Dairyland makes around a quarter of all cheese produced in the United States, including Colby and Monterey Jack, but the highest is still cheddar. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the New England state of Vermont, which makes some of the finest sharp cheddar cheese in the country. As a matter of fact, Cabot Private Stock Cheddar is just about the best eating cheese I've ever had. Not too sharp, but bursting with flavor. It goes well with summer sausage and wheat crackers. Although mozzarella on pizza is a contender, and the world's most easily recognized cheese is Swiss, the fromage actually most consumed is cheddar. Now, you know. Let's finish making our soup at the campsite. Well, the asparagus finishes up. You can take your bacon and cut that into small-sized pieces as well. So I've cut that bacon into bite-sized pieces. I'm just going to slip that right into the pot. I've pretty well whisked up that cheddar cheese soup mix with the milk. I'm just going to pour that right into the pot. Mix that in. So I've mixed in the cheddar cheese soup mix into the pot. We'll give it a stir and let that start to come up to heat. You'll want to let that mixture come up to a bubble, but not boil or scorch. So just keep an eye on it, lower the heat as necessary, and continue to stir it, allowing everything to meld together. Let me grab my little bowl here. Put this right in. There you have bacon and asparagus cheddar cheese soup. I'm going to eat my lunch, and then I'll clean up my mess. If you've enjoyed this video, please take a moment and give it a thumbs up. It just lets YouTube know that you appreciate what I'm doing. Also, consider subscribing to my channel. I put out a video every week on the places that I go camping, the gear that I use, and what I cook in my mess kit. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. I try to answer every single one. In the meantime, I hope you'll get outside. And thank you for watching. That's nice and thick.